borrowed it, as I recall, at something like 2% interest. It did not bankrupt me. It did not cause me to have to take a job on Wall Street. Instead, I got to do what I wanted to do. As a young lawyer, I went to work for the Children's Defense Fund to defend the rights and needs of children. And now what is happening is so many young people come out with debt and have to take jobs solely for the purpose of paying off their student loans. I think we've got to get back to the great American tradition of making it possible for you to go to college. You know, Harry Truman had the GI Bill that led to a thriving middle class. President Eisenhower started loans for math and science education. We adopted Pell Grants and the Hope Scholarships. We have all understood for a long time that investments in your college education is not just good for you, it's good for all of us. Unfortunately, our current president has a different approach. He's more focused on providing handouts to Halliburton and tax cuts to oil companies than he is to making sure that we take care of getting the next generation educated. So I'm going to reverse that, because too many people today feel like they're just invisible when it comes to affording college. You know, if you're a parent who's worked as hard as you know how, and you still haven't saved enough money, well, you are invisible to this president. If you're a young person who went ahead and applied and then didn't get enough financial aid and has to put that acceptance letter in a drawer somewhere, you feel pretty invisible as well. And if you're a recent graduate who wants to maybe be a nurse or a teacher or a police officer or a social worker, and then you look at your student loans and you figure out you can't pay them off if you do what your heart wants to do, you're invisible as well. Well, you are not invisible to me, and you will not be invisible to the next President of the United States. I have been working to open the doors of college for a long time. You know, when I was First Lady in Arkansas, I served as the founding board president of something called the Arkansas Single Parent Scholarship Program. The idea was to help single parents access higher education and better jobs so they could better provide for themselves and their children. And a study of that program in 2000 found that 80% of the recipients had graduated and 92% had found employment that paid more than what they had before. In the Senate, I sponsored a Student Borrower's Bill of Rights to ensure that students' monthly payments would not exceed a certain percentage of their incomes, and that the interest rates would be fair and not unpredictable. I'm proud that the new bill that the Democratic majority just passed and was signed into law provides an income-based loan repayment program like I had in law school, and based on what I championed in the Senate. My Bill of Rights would also protect students from loan company schemes to exploit them with exorbitant rates, and to give you the best information available. I've also proposed a new GI Bill of Rights for the 21st century. This bill would provide the full cost of tuition and fees and a living allowance for 36 months of schooling for those who get 4 years of active duty military service. And I've also proposed creating a United States Public Service Academy modeled on our military academies that would give tuition-free education to young people who would go into education, government, public health, environmental conservation, and more. This Public Service Academy would give young people committed to a life of service the chance to get the skills and training and leadership abilities that they would need. And today, here at Plymouth State, I want to unveil my plan as president to expand access to the American dream. Here's what I would do. First, I will create a new $3,500 college tax credit. I will do that by taking the old Hope tax credit and more than doubling the maximum benefits that students can receive under it. from $1,650 to $3,500. This new tax credit will cover more than 50% of the typical cost of public colleges and universities, or the full cost of community colleges. This tax credit is the heart of my plan, because I want to reward people who are trying to do better for themselves. I will make it partially refundable so that people with low incomes will also be able to access it. Second, I will make applying for financial aid in the first place a lot easier. Now, as you know from your experience, you practically need a PhD to understand how to fill out these forms. This form, called the FAFSA, has 3 times as many questions as the typical tax return, and it's 5 times as long. Families are sometimes required to submit it before they even receive the tax information they need to fill it out. And if they do send it in, what they get in return is a card that says, based on the information you have submitted, we have used the standard formula to calculate your EFC, which is, and then there's a dollar amount. And then it goes on to say, your school will use this number to determine what types of aid and how much you are eligible for based on your educational costs. Now, if you don't know what that means, you are not alone. And the form does not provide an explanation. For those who are curious, EFC is expected family contribution. Listen to this. We did a lot of research to get this number. Americans spend 100 million hours a year filling out these forms. That is the equivalent of 55,500 full-time jobs. But 25% of the qualifying expenses never get claimed. These forms are tedious, confusing, and 100% unnecessary. That's why I'm getting rid of them. And you'll include this information on your applications. Your college will collect the money directly from the Department of Education, and you'll be on your way to getting the diploma. Now, this will save families and students 100 million hours a year. It'll save the government money, and it will increase, we estimate, the college-going rate by about 5 to 7%. I think that's a pretty good payoff for eliminating piles of paperwork. Third, under my plan, we'll work to hold college costs down, and we will hold colleges accountable for the results. I will create a college cost calculator by asking colleges to submit to the Department of Education information, anonymously of course, about their students' income and the aid that is received. We'll then use that information to create a user-friendly website where students can type in their family's income and immediately learn roughly how much they would pay to attend a particular college. I will also instruct the Department of Education to release information about graduation and graduate employment rates for every single college in America. And I will require state and local colleges and universities to set a fixed rate for each entering freshman class that will last for multiple years. No more sudden tuition hikes. No more scrambling to scrape up the cash you need just to graduate. When you start college in year 1, you should know what you're going to have to pay until you graduate. And we're going to move in that direction.